This right here is one of the saddest videos I've ever seen, and I've covered thousands over the years. Take a look. This incident took place in Rize, a province in eastern Turkey, where torrential rainfall can quickly transform hillsides and overflowing streams into fast-moving floodwaters. The footage captures the terrifying force of the current as one man is swept away. Based on the intensity of the flood, the outcome for the victim appears grim, though the footage does not reveal what happened afterward. On March 11, 2022, two cousins made their way to Playland Park near the Jockey Club in Lima, Peru for what was supposed to be a normal evening at the fair. They were 11 and 13 years old. According to their family, the ride they got on that night was one intended for older riders. The attraction went by the name Lave Voladora, which translates to the flying ship. It was a fast-moving circular ride with a series of small cars linked together and running around an oval track. From the ground, it looked like any high-energy fairground ride. Bright lights, loud music, and cars swinging around the course while riders screamed. As the speed built, one of those cars suddenly failed. The car the two boys were riding in came free from the track, lifted out of position, and hit the ground hard next to the ride. The force of the impact was enough to throw both boys out of the car and onto the ground. The atmosphere around the ride shifted immediately. People pushed toward the boys while staff and bystanders worked to get the other riders off the attraction. Both cousins were transported to a nearby clinic. The younger of the two had bruising to his head, face, arm, and back. The older boy's injuries were more serious. Damage to his ribs, collarbone, and lung put him in intensive care for monitoring. Both boys survived and were discharged within a short time. Once the footage circulated online, investigators determined that a mechanical failure had caused the car to slip from the track. The investigation also uncovered something else. Playland Park had no current authorization to operate at that location that night. The permit had expired. Authorities ordered the park to close, and the company was subsequently fined for the danger it had created for visitors. What makes the footage so striking is how fast it happened. One moment, two kids were sitting in a fairground car like everyone else around them. The next, that car was off the track entirely. Thought that was scary? Brace yourself for the next clip. In Fengshan, China, heavy rainfall triggered a landslide that sent large boulders crashing onto a roadway below. According to authorities, two people sustained minor injuries in the incident. As a precaution, officials also evacuated 44 nearby families because of the continued risk of additional rock slides. Restraints on amusement rides serve one function: keep the rider inside the vehicle regardless of what forces the ride applies. The shoulder bar, the lap belt, the harness, each one is engineered to hold the person in place through whatever combination of speed, rotation, and inversion the ride was designed to produce. The assumption built into every ride cycle is that the restraint will do exactly that. Passengers sit, the system locks, the operator confirms it, and the ride proceeds on the premise that nothing holding a person in place will open until the cycle is finished.
Hey, I got both seagulls completely loose.
On June 25, 2017, that premise failed at Worlds of Wonder in India. The attraction was called the feedback, a high-intensity ride engineered around speed, rotation, and sustained disorientation. The structure functioned like a large mechanical carousel with extended arms that launched passenger pods high into the air. Those pods rotated independently at the end of the arms, meaning riders were simultaneously being pulled through several forces at once, spinning, swinging, lifting, and flipping, with their shoulder restraints as the only thing keeping them seated. Shortly after the ride started, one of those restraints opened. As the machine moved into its first major flip, a man's harness came loose entirely. With nothing securing him, he was thrown clear of his seat, fell below the ride, struck an iron step on the way down, and landed in the bushes underneath. He survived with minor injuries, but for everyone still locked into the ride above him, it wasn't over. The machine kept going. Passengers were screaming for it to stop when a second restraint reportedly failed, and a second rider started sliding free from her seat. The person sitting next to her grabbed hold and kept her in place while the ride continued swinging, the only thing between her and a fall being another passenger's grip rather than the harness that was supposed to hold her. For nearly a minute, the remaining passengers stayed suspended, depending on whatever restraints were still holding to keep them in. Witnesses said the first man's wife was pleading with staff to bring the ride to a stop, attributed to witnesses, but the operators did not halt it immediately. When it finally slowed and ended, the crowd turned on the operator, who reportedly fled the scene. Park officials subsequently described the incident as a technical fault and noted that no serious injuries had occurred, attributed to park officials. But the park also confirmed something that reframed the entire incident. The feedback had no emergency braking system capable of stopping it instantly. The only available emergency measure reduced the thrust to the arms, which meant the ride still had to complete its remaining momentum and gradually slow before it could come to a full stop. From the moment that first harness opened, there was no mechanism to cut the danger short. For years, amusement parks across parts of India operated without the mandatory safety audits, specific legislative requirements, or structured post-incident investigations that applied in other countries, meaning rides like the feedback could remain in operation without the external scrutiny that might have identified the fault before a rider was seated. When a ride's entire margin of safety depends on restraint integrity, operator response time, and inspection quality, a single harness opening at the wrong point in the cycle is sufficient to create serious danger without anything else on the ride failing at all. This next clip takes us to the heart of Bangkok early in the morning, and what you're about to witness is downright terrifying. Watch this. This incident happened on September 24, 2025, during work on a metro line extension. According to reports, groundwater movement and a ruptured water pipe caused soil to wash into an unsecured section of the tunnel under construction. As the support eroded, empty spaces formed and spread upward until the road suddenly collapsed. The truck was extremely lucky, narrowly avoiding a much worse outcome. It's a stark reminder of how quickly hidden failures beneath the ground can turn an ordinary road into a life-threatening hazard. Water parks don't typically register as dangerous places. On June 27, 2015, thousands of people arrived at Formosa Fun Coast in Taiwan for exactly that reason, a night out at a familiar venue hosting what looked like a straightforward outdoor music event. None of them knew the environment they were walking into was being made progressively more dangerous with every minute that passed. The event was called Color Play Asia. Colored cornstarch powder was being sprayed continuously over the crowd as people danced in front of the main stage. From where anyone in the audience was standing, it looked like a well-produced party. The powder caught the stage lighting, coated people's clothing, and created the kind of visual spectacle the organizers were going for. That was the intention. The problem was, what was happening to the air? Thousands of attendees were packed into a tight space, many of them gathered inside a drained swimming pool directly in front of the stage. Air blowers and compressed gas canisters kept feeding more powder into the crowd throughout the event. A dense cloud of suspended particles built up above the stage area. In sections of the venue, the powder had settled into a visible layer on the ground beneath people's feet. To the crowd, it looked like residue from a party. What it actually was fuel. Cornstarch dust in sufficient airborne concentration is combustible. The people packed into that space were standing inside a flammable cloud and had no way of knowing it. The ignition happened without any warning. A flash of fire crossed the stage area and the powder coating the ground caught almost simultaneously. The flames moved through the packed crowd fast, faster than most people could process what was happening. Within seconds, a music event had become a mass casualty incident. People ran, fell, and scrambled over each other trying to get clear. The fire burned for less than a minute. The injuries it left behind were severe. More than 500 people were hurt, a significant number with serious burns. 15 died later from complications sustained that night. The emergency response was immediately overwhelmed. The scale of the casualties exceeded what the available ambulances could handle. Victims were transported to hospitals in taxis. Others were carried out of the venue on inflatable rings, improvised stretchers, and whatever came to hand in the immediate aftermath. Investigators examining the scene looked at how the ignition occurred. Hot stage lighting was believed to be one of the likely sources. Smoking had been allowed at the event, and cigarette butts were recovered from the area during the investigation. Either could have been sufficient given the concentration of powder in the air by that point. Event organizer Lu Chongqi was charged with negligent homicide and subsequently sentenced to prison. Formosa Fun Coast shut down in the aftermath and never reopened for a normal operation. What makes this event so chilling isn't the scale of the fire, it's that the hazard was distributed through the air, the crowd was breathing, and the powder covering their clothes. There was nothing that looked like a threat. The danger was the party itself. There is no amount of money you can pay me to get into this line of work, and this clip showcases exactly why.
Cái dòng này thắt sao chỉ em thắt dòng nha. Nè mình xỏ qua cái lỗ này nè. Vậy nó có cái lỗ nè, xỏ qua. Móc qua đây cái. Rồi. Đơn giản không? Vậy là xong rồi đó. Rút cái hết vô. Đó, khóa lại. Rồi cái này là 4 sinh nè anh em. 4 sinh nha. Vậy anh em có hỏi thắt bóm sao thì chỉ luôn. Xỏ vô dây vậy cái. Móc lại cái rồi. Xong. Đó, trước khi leo xuống á, thì mình trước khi leo xuống mình móc cái vòng dây an toàn cái mình phải leo xuống nha. Đó, đơn giản. Đó, giờ rồi. Xuống cho anh em coi luôn nè. Giờ leo xuống cho anh em coi nè.
Judging by the setup, he's likely preparing to rappel down the outside of the building to carry out facade maintenance, such as repairing cracks, patching damaged areas, or sealing openings before water infiltration leads to more extensive and costly structural damage. It's a job that requires skill, confidence, and nerves of steel. Would you be willing to do work like that, hundreds of feet above the ground? Near Veliki, Russia, a truck driver lost control and crashed into a car traveling along a highway. According to reports, everyone involved escaped without injuries despite the severity of the collision. It's a stark reminder that even a routine drive can change in an instant when control is lost. Not all fires are created equal, and this clip is proof. Watch. This footage captures the intense reaction of a magnesium fire. Once burning magnesium comes into contact with water, it reacts with the oxygen and hydrogen contained in the H2O molecules, producing an incredibly bright white flash. The result is a brief but extremely intense burst of light that can resemble a miniature sun. Fortunately, the camera withstood the blast, allowing the entire incident to be recorded. If you thought that was scary, wait until you see this next clip. Crystal and Damien purchased what they believe would be their dream home just a few months before these recordings began. Not long after moving in, the two got engaged. By any external measure, life was going well, but despite that, neither of them could shake a persistent and deepening unease that had settled into the house alongside them. Unexplained things kept happening, events that neither of them could account for. To find out whether they were imagining it, they set up multiple cameras throughout the property in different rooms. What those cameras recorded confirmed the activity was real. On August 6, 2022, a hallway camera picked up something that stood out. It was after midnight. The house should have been quiet. A knock came at the front door. Damien went to see who was there. No one was outside. That moment, unremarkable on its own, was only the beginning, because from here, things get considerably creepier.
Hanging out with your friends, that's how it's gonna make you feel at the end of the day. Like, it feels more like...
They don't mean to do that. They're not like planning on, you know, they
Do you
don't.
know how it feels to hang out with a group of
God.
people and they don't even want you there?
They do want you there.
I'm only there
They want you
because
there.
they
They
like
like you a lot.
you.
No, they don't. They
That's
like.
the only
They
reason.
like. Yeah, they like me. They're my friends. But they're because they're my. But they like you a lot.
They're acting fucking rude to me.
They're not. They're not trying. That's just how they. Hey.
During an argument between the two of them, a plate slid free from a cabinet directly behind them and struck the counter, without anyone having touched it. They both stopped mid-argument, confused. Then a second plate came down, and this one traveled toward Damien as though something had deliberately directed it at him. It seemed as if whatever was present in the house was attempting to interrupt the fight or force them to stop entirely, but the activity only continued to escalate. One night, Crystal was alone in the house, late scrolling through her phone. Watch. The door to the room slid open by itself. Crystal stayed calm initially. She assumed Damien had come home ahead of schedule and was standing out in the hallway. She waited for him to appear. Nobody came through. Damien was not home. She was completely alone in a house with a door that had just opened on its own with no visible cause. Crystal was terrified. Eventually, the sustained paranormal activity pushed the couple toward a decision neither of them had wanted to make. In a later video update, Damien filmed from outside the house. He appeared visibly shaken.
Just gonna go to just Airbnb for the night, and just for the night, and then we're gonna figure out.
What was happening inside had escalated to the point where living a normal life in the home was no longer workable. They left temporarily and spent the night in an Airbnb, hoping that some distance might bring things down. They returned the following evening. After talking it through, they concluded that the only real way forward was direct confrontation with whatever was present. They performed a seance with the intention of making contact and asking the presence to leave. The response was immediate, and it was terrifying. Whatever is in that house has no interest in leaving and no desire to be communicated with. So after that seance, after whatever they opened that night, the question that remains is whether Crystal and Damien unlocked something they can no longer shut, or whether the fear they've been carrying has started producing the very presence they're most afraid of. The ocean is beautiful, but also dangerous. Watch and see why. Conditions like these are often found where ocean currents and air masses with different temperatures collide. These regions can experience sustained winds exceeding 55 knots, along with waves commonly reaching 10 to 15 meters in height. On rare occasions, even larger rogue waves over 20 meters can form. Although modern cargo ships are engineered to withstand seas this extreme, facing conditions like these would still be an intimidating experience for any crew.
ആനയുടെ സൂക്കട്
മാത്രം വയലന്റ് ആണ് ഈ ആന സമീപ പ്രദേശത്തുള്ള ഈ പന്തല് അതോടൊപ്പം വാഹനങ്ങൾ ആളുകൾക്ക് നേരെ അതോടൊപ്പം മരങ്ങൾ ഇതൊക്കെ ആക്രമിക്കാനുള്ള ഒരു കാര്യമാണ് ഇപ്പോൾ പറഞ്ഞ ഉള്ളത്. അതിനെ വളർത്തുക എത്രത്തോളം എത്തിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. വളരെ പൂർണ്ണമായും ചെറുപ്പങ്ങളാക്കിയാണ് എന്താണ് അത് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ വീണ്ടും പറക്കുകയാണ്. ആദ്യം അതിനുശേഷം വീണ്ടും അത് പിന്നെയും താഴ്ത്തുകയാണ്. അത് പൂർണ്ണമായി സാഹചര്യത്തിലേക്ക് കാര്യങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യുകയാണ്. അങ്ങനെ വലിയ പ്രതിസന്ധിയിലൂടെ പ്രദേശത്തെ ആളുകൾക്ക് വലിയ ആശങ്കയിലൂടെ കടന്നു പോകുന്ന നിമിഷങ്ങളാണ്. ഇനിയിപ്പോൾ എന്താണ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് എന്നൊരു വ്യക്തത ആർക്കും വന്നിട്ടില്ല. ആ കാറ് പൂർണ്ണമായും, അതായത് കാറ് ആ വീടിന്റെ മതിലിനോട് ചേർന്ന് ആ കാറ് ഇന്ത്യ തള്ളി കൊണ്ടുവന്ന് അവിടെ ഇട്ടിപ്പോൾ അത് വീണ്ടും ചവിട്ടുന്ന കാഴ്ചയാണ് കാണുന്നത്. വീണ്ടും മറച്ചിടാൻ ശ്രമിക്കുന്നു. അങ്ങനെ ഈ പാപ്പന്മാരും അതോടൊപ്പം ടാസ്ക് ഫോഴ്സ് ആളുകളും അല്ലാതെ മറ്റു ആർക്കും അങ്ങനത്തെ കളിക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല. അവരും പോലും വളരെ 150 മീറ്റർ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ 200 മീറ്റർ ഒക്കെ അപ്പുറത്തായിട്ടാണ് നിൽക്കുന്നത്. ആ വീടിന് അതിലൊക്കെ
In Angamali, India, on May 1, 2026, a temple elephant became aggressive during a religious festival after breaking free from its chains. According to reports, the animal seriously injured its handler and fatally attacked the lorry driver who had transported it. Before a forest department team was able to tranquilize the elephant, it also caused significant damage to nearby vehicles and property. A man in the United States posted this TikTok, and it's the kind of clip that stays with you. It was late at night, and he was sitting by himself in the living room, phone in hand, scrolling. Then that sensation hit, the specific uncomfortable feeling of being watched, not from inside the house, but from beyond the window, as if someone was standing just outside looking directly in at him. He picked up his phone and started filming to capture whatever was out there.
I'm really tripping out now. Something was looking at me through the window, and I heard I'm freaking out. I am tripping. There's something in this house with me. There's something in here. I'm telling you. No.
As he kept recording, his attention shifted toward the kitchen. Objects on the counter started moving, not dramatically at first, but clearly enough that there was no mistaking it. The realization that he wasn't alone settled in fast. Then whatever was in that space turned toward him. A kitchen knife left the counter and crossed the air in his direction, missing him by only a few feet before hitting the floor. Before he could process that, something else came out of the darkness at him. The atmosphere in the room had become deeply eerie by this point. The way it escalated, responding to his fear rather than ignoring it, didn't read like a prank. It read like something reacting. So the question the knife specifically raises is this: a burglar doesn't throw a knife and stay hidden. So what does? I'm willing to bet you've never seen a plane landing quite like this one. Take a look and let me know if I'm right or wrong. What you're watching is a crosswind landing using the crab technique, a maneuver pilots rely on when strong winds blow across a runway. It's especially common at airports in mountainous regions such as Nepal, where shifting winds can make approaches more challenging. To stay aligned with the runway, the pilot deliberately points the aircraft's nose slightly into the wind while allowing the plane to continue traveling straight over the ground. This causes the fuselage to appear angled sideways even though the aircraft remains on the correct flight path. The technique is used at airports around the world whenever crosswinds become significant. In this case, the approach ended exactly as intended, with a smooth and controlled touchdown. This clip takes us to the Church of the Ascension on the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. During a service on January 19, 2026, one of the people in attendance had their phone out and was filming. They weren't looking for anything unusual, just documenting the moment, but when they played the footage back, something on that recording stopped them cold. Word spread through the congregation, and the response from the people who saw it was, by their own account, stunning. Watch what happens in the background while the camera is focused on the nuns at the front of the service. A figure moves through the rear of the room, and it doesn't look like anyone else in that space. The light coming off it is so intense that there's nothing to identify. No face, no clothing, no physical detail of any kind. It's just a shape that glows as it moves. Skeptics came forward pretty quickly with their take. Camera malfunction or sunlight pouring into the building and blowing out the sensor, attributed to skeptics. It's a reasonable starting point, except for one thing the footage makes difficult to ignore. The nuns are standing less than 2 feet away from this figure, and the light hitting them is completely ordinary. No overexposure, no bleed, no sign that anything unusual is happening to the camera at all. That's the part that doesn't fit the explanation, because if the sensor was overwhelmed enough to turn a person into a walking light source, everything in that immediate area should show the same effect. Nothing else does. The congregation largely landed in a different place entirely, with many describing what they saw as a guardian angel present during the service. So the specific question the footage raises isn't really about whether light can cause this kind of effect. It's about why that effect would appear on one figure alone while leaving everything 2 feet away completely untouched. On a highway in Jalisco, Mexico, a red passenger bus was moving along when a white pickup truck came flying past and got directly in front of it, then came to a dead stop across the lane. Armed men climbed out. The driver understood immediately that this wasn't a road dispute or a near miss. This was an ambush. He had almost no time and no good options. Pulling the bus to a stop meant trapping everyone on board with armed men right outside. Hesitating meant the bus became a stationary target, so instead, he did something else entirely. He swung the wheel and drove the bus straight into the pickup with enough force to knock it off the road. The impact broke up the ambush before it could develop into anything worse. The armed men abandoned it and ran. The bus kept going, carrying the passengers away from the threat before the situation could escalate further. This reportedly took place on February 22, 2026. The violence across Jalisco that day was connected to the death of El Ñoño, described as one of the most powerful cartel leaders in Mexico. In response to his death, cartel members were reportedly moving across Jalisco and surrounding areas, blocking highways, setting vehicles on fire, and throwing up flaming barricades across major roads, attributed to reports from that period. Other buses hadn't made it through that day. Footage from the wider unrest showed what happened to the passenger vehicles that encountered these blockades and didn't get clear in time, and it wasn't good. The bus that did get through, the one on this footage, got through because of one decision made in a fraction of a second. There's no version of this where the driver had a clean choice in front of him. Stopping was a trap. Waiting was a risk. Driving into the vehicle blocking the road was the only move that kept the momentum in his favor and the passengers moving away from the danger. The fact that everyone on that bus got out of that situation is a direct result of him not stopping when every instinct might have said to. Paranormal investigator Alan Berry makes his way into an abandoned village in Saudi Arabia, a place that used to house workers from a nearby oil refinery before the plant shut down in 2004. For more than 2 decades since, these buildings have sat empty, but people from the village next door have a different take on whether the place is truly unoccupied. According to locals, jinn have claimed the ruins. Drivers who pass through at night reportedly catch sight of dark figures standing in the windows, watching the road. From the moment Alan Berry arrives, the decay is obvious and the atmosphere feels loaded. During his time filming, he captures what appears to be orb-like lights drifting in the distance and what looks like glowing eyes observing him from the darkness beyond the village perimeter.
والله يا إنه المكان مرعب. وش سالفة النيران هذه يا جماعة؟ كأنها شبة نار. وش دي؟ أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. السقف. شجرة جوبة الغرفة. شفتوا؟ والله الشجر. شكله بشب نار. بسم الله. شفتوا؟ شوف بس اسود. شو بيستعني معاه؟ شيء هنا ظهر. في أحد؟ شيء عجيب الله. هذا اللي صار. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. شفت؟ بسم الله. والله في شيء. هنا.
Things turn physical while he's inside one of the deteriorating houses. A heavy metal window frame swings open gradually on its own. No gust of wind visible that could account for the weight of it moving that way. But something seems to be tracking him as his camera pans across to the building directly opposite. Keep your eye on the window. A dark figure is standing there, clearly watching him. Alan Berry doesn't catch it and keeps going. Then a few moments later, movement draws his attention to a different structure entirely. A shadow crosses a window frame in a separate building. This time, he registers it, and it visibly unsettles him. Whatever it is appears to be shifting between buildings, staying close. He heads toward that structure to investigate. Before he steps inside though, look at the window right beside where the figure just was. Another dark shape with glowing eyes is positioned there, watching him. It holds for just a moment before both figures disappear entirely. When he enters the room to find them, it's empty, just 2 cats sitting among the rubble. In Arab folklore, jinn are said to take the form of animals, cats specifically, in order to observe people without revealing themselves. The figure surfaces again not long after, visible in a window of yet another building. Alan Berry reaches a conclusion. He's being followed. He ends the investigation and leaves. So the question the cats specifically raise, given what Arab folklore says about jinn and shapeshifting, is whether finding 2 of them in a room where figures just vanished is the explanation or part of it. On a road running through Bandipur Tiger Reserve in Karnataka, India, a tourist climbed out of his vehicle and began walking in the direction of a wild elephant standing near the edge of the road. The man, reportedly identified as R. Basavaraju, had his phone out and was closing the distance, apparently more focused on getting the shot than on what the situation actually was. Before he approached, the elephant had not been displaying aggressive behavior. That detail matters more than it might seem, because it means the animal didn't signal anything he could have pointed to as a warning he chose to ignore. The risk was simply built into the moment he stepped out of that car and started walking toward a wild elephant on a reserve road. The elephant turned and charged almost immediately once he entered its space. It closed the gap between them in seconds. He turned and ran, but that gap was never going to stay open long enough for him to reach safety on foot, not with a wild elephant at speed behind him on a flat road. He was knocked down and stomped repeatedly while he lay on the tarmac. The elephant eventually moved back just enough for him to get up off the ground and get himself clear of the situation. He was transported to hospital and survived the attack. His injuries were reportedly not life-threatening. Forest officials subsequently identified him, issued a fine of 25,000 rupees, and required him to record a video statement on camera in which he acknowledged that he had violated the rules of the reserve and ignored the wildlife safety guidelines that are in place, specifically because encounters like this one are entirely predictable. The footage is hard to watch, not because it ended as badly as it could have. It didn't, but because of how quickly the distance between a man taking a photo and a man being stopped by an elephant collapsed. The charge is what most people focus on when they see this clip, but the actual error came earlier, quieter, and with far less drama. The moment he decided stepping out of the vehicle was a reasonable thing to do, everything that followed was a consequence of that one decision. Sometimes danger finds people who aren't looking for it and couldn't have seen it coming. This clip is a solid example of that. Hikers near Santiago volcano in Guatemala were caught off guard when it erupted without warning. This isn't just a volcano classified as active. The label that comes up when you search it is hyperactive. That's a meaningful distinction. People have different opinions on hiking active volcanoes. That's fair enough, but choosing to hike one that's been specifically labeled hyperactive is a level of boldness that goes beyond what most would sign up for. Glenn, who goes by Glenny Boy on TikTok, runs a daily life vlog, not a paranormal channel, not a ghost hunting account, just regular content. But something started happening in his home that changed that. Strange footsteps coming from the kitchen with no explanation and noises from his son's bedroom that didn't add up. Then one night, loud banging from the kitchen pulled him out of sleep entirely. He grabbed his camera and went to find out what was going on.
It's happening again. I'm hearing banging again. I don't know where it's coming from. The f***? That's in the f***ing dining room. That's in the kids' room. What is going on? Seriously? What is that? What is that? Why's the light off? What is going... What the fuck? What the... What on earth?
What?
This.
He went to the kitchen first. The lights were on and nothing looked dramatically wrong, but then a sound came from his kid's room further down the hall. He left the kitchen with the light still burning and headed to the bedroom to check. The room was empty. Then, right as he was standing there, a massive crash erupts from the kitchen he had just walked out of seconds earlier. He runs back. When he gets there, the lights that he had left on are now off. He flips them back on, and the kitchen is in chaos. Every single cabinet has been thrown open, and the tap in the sink is running at full pressure. He starts trying to back out of the room, and the door swings shut directly in front of him, cutting off his exit. Now, before we keep going, go back and listen to the moment he is running back into the dark kitchen, just before he gets the lights on. Listen carefully. What you can hear in that darkness is heavy footsteps, moving away from him as if something is retreating the instant he comes through the door. Glenn has posted nothing further about what happened since uploading this. No follow-up, no explanation, no update. So the question the footsteps specifically raise is this: if it was staged, what was running? Peter Foley was 58 years old, worked as an IT consultant, and lived alone in a bungalow in North Holt, West London. When he was found dead following a fire at the property, nothing about the initial picture pointed toward anything other than a tragedy. He had a pre-existing heart condition. The fire appeared to be the explanation. Investigators treated it as an accidental death, smoke inhalation, and the case was closed. What makes this one disturbing isn't any single dramatic revelation. It's how completely the truth managed to hide inside something that looked entirely routine. Peter had arranged to meet someone through an online platform. The man presented himself under the name Gabriel. The encounter was supposed to be consensual. Roleplay built around themes of authority and control, and from Peter's perspective, he was inviting someone into his home for something he had agreed to in advance. CCTV footage captured the man arriving at the property without making any effort to conceal himself or his approach. He walked up to the door as though he had every reason to be there. The fire broke out in the early hours of January 7th, 2013, and because the scene aligned with the accidental death narrative, the investigation didn't survive its first assessment. The case was closed, and Peter Foley's death was officially recorded under the wrong cause. What kept any thread alive was the activity on Peter's bank accounts. Transactions continued after his death. That detail raised questions, but not with enough weight to overturn a conclusion that had already been reached. Then, nearly 2 years after the case was closed, Peter's nephew recovered a computer hard drive from inside the bungalow. It had survived the fire. On it were recordings from a webcam that had been running inside the property during Peter's final hours. What those recordings showed was enough to tear the original theory apart completely. The meeting that had appeared consensual shifted on camera into something Peter had never agreed to. The man calling himself Gabriel, later identified as Jason Marshall, moved the encounter past the limits of what had been arranged between them. Peter was overpowered. He stopped being a willing participant and became something else entirely, while the recording was still running. After that point in the footage, Marshall could be seen moving around the space calmly. Then came the sound of liquid being poured, followed by the fire. The fire wasn't what killed Peter Foley. It was a method used to conceal how he died. Police reopened the case the moment they reviewed the footage. Marshall was identified, and his history showed a pattern of impersonating authority figures in encounters at this time. Following Peter's death, he had traveled abroad and reportedly attempted comparable conduct with another victim who survived. That person's survival contributed to the effort to locate him. Marshall was extradited to the United Kingdom, stood trial, was convicted of murder, and received a life sentence with a minimum term of 39 years. What lingers about Peter Foley's case is the margin. If the hard drive hadn't made it through the fire, the investigation would never have been reopened. His death would most likely still be recorded as a domestic fire accident. The cover wasn't elaborate. It just didn't need to be to work, at least not indefinitely. Muhammad Ahmed was 23 years old when he was shot and killed near Turnpike Lane in North London in the early hours of May 28, 2021. From the beginning of the investigation, police were clear that they did not consider this a random attack. They suspected the direct connection to an earlier firearms incident in Park Lane N17, where another man had been injured a short time before Muhammad was killed. That earlier incident is what gives this case its structure, because if the link holds, Muhammad's death wasn't an isolated event. It was part of a sequence that was already in motion before he was found. Police had CCTV coverage of the area. 3 individuals appeared on that footage, 2 moving on bicycles, one on foot, and one of them was wearing a jacket distinctive enough to stand out across multiple camera angles. Footage from the earlier shooting reportedly showed a man wearing that same jacket at the hospital, where he had assisted in bringing the wounded person in before leaving the scene. That detail is attributed to reports and not independently confirmed beyond those accounts. Investigators formed the view that people connected to the first incident later traveled in a Honda Civic in the direction Turnpike Lane, and that Muhammad may have been located in or near Duckett's Common before shots were discharged from the vehicle. If that sequence is accurate, the attack of Muhammad was not opportunistic. It was targeted, and it followed from something that had already happened somewhere that same night. In June 2021, one man was arrested on suspicion of murder. He was subsequently released under investigation, and from that point forward, the case stopped producing public developments. No charges were confirmed, no identities were publicly established. The footage provided investigators with movement patterns, clothing descriptions, timing, and a potential thread connecting two separate incidents, but not a name. According to reports, local people reacted to the killing with something closer to exhaustion than shock, an attributed observation that suggests serious violence had become sufficiently normalized in the area that even a murder didn't register as something outside the expected. That's a different category disturbing from what a homicide investigation usually produces. Muhammad Ahmed's case belongs to a specific kind of frustrating. The footage exists. The timeline is partially visible. The investigation was clearly active and the theory was developed, but the distance between what the cameras captured and what could be proven in a courtroom never closed. CCTV provided enough to build a case theory. It didn't provide enough to finish one. The case remains open. TikTok user Giovanni Lima and his girlfriend have been living with something in their apartment for months, and he started capturing it on camera. The early signs were subtle, shuffling at night, whistling from rooms that had no one in them. When it became a daily occurrence, Giovanni made the decision to document everything. What the footage points toward isn't a conventional haunting. The behavior suggests something that replicates voices and sounds, what's typically described as a mimic.
É a minha voz. Caralho.
A whistling sound pulls him toward one of the rooms on the left side of the apartment. As he closes in, he hears a male voice that sounds like his own coming from inside, calling him in. He lives there with his girlfriend only. No other man is in that apartment. The door slams shut before he reaches it. As the activity kept intensifying, Giovanni placed lines of salt along the front entrance and lit candles there in an attempt to stop whatever this was from coming through. It didn't appear to have any effect.
Chu, acorda. Tá aqui.
Amor?
Vai embora da minha casa agora!
Deixa eu entrar.
Você não é bem-vindo aqui!
Me deixa entrar. Sou eu.
Vai embora!
Me deixa entrar.
Ele não tá passando. Ele não vai passar. Ele não passa.
Me deixa entrar.
One night, they both woke to something at the front door. When they went to check, the handle was shaking violently, the way it moves when someone is forcing it from the other side. Listen carefully to the voice coming from outside the door.
Me deixa entrar. Sou eu.
It sounds exactly like his girlfriend pleading to be let in. His girlfriend is standing right beside him and she's visibly frightened. Their interpretation is that whatever is outside had learned her voice and was using it to get the door open. Giovanni eventually decided to stop avoiding it. On a different night, when the sound started again, he went to the front door and opened it. His girlfriend stayed back and filmed from behind him. He opened the door and looked left. His expression shifted immediately into something unreadable. The door then slammed shut, locking him out in the hallway alone. Banging came from his side of the door, but no words from Giovanni. His girlfriend opened it. He was standing completely motionless, not speaking, not reacting, staring at nothing at all. A complete trance. She had to stop recording to physically bring him back inside and pull him out of it. So the question the trance state raises is specific, because you can stage a lot of things, but what exactly is a performance when someone goes silent, stops responding, and has to be physically dragged back to awareness? On February 24th, 2026, people in Albacete in Cairo looked up and saw a man hanging from the outside of a 10-story building. He had reportedly been caught attempting to rob an apartment inside, and rather than making his way out through the building's interior, he had ended up on the exterior of the structure with nowhere to go but down. The footage shows him at the 10th floor, finger-scraping air conditioning units and window ledges, working his way lower one floor at a time while people on the ground below watched. At one point, he jumped to the floor beneath him, came down hard on an AC unit, and kept going. His legs were dangling in open air as he moved across the face of the building, shifting from one narrow foothold to the next, and the panic in his movements was visible throughout. What happens next is genuinely strange. As he descended, residents inside the building began opening their windows and calling out to him. They were inviting him in, offering him a way off the exterior of the building so he wouldn't fall. According to reports, some of them told him they wouldn't contact police if he just came inside. Attributed to those reports, he turned every offer down. Whether it was fear, distrust, or determination to keep moving, he refused each time and kept climbing lower. By the 5th floor, he had clearly run out of energy. He hung from the ledge for a stretch of time before dropping down into a lower construction area beneath him. When he landed, it became immediately apparent that he hadn't actually gotten away. He was contained in that space with no visible exit route. According to reports, once he understood he was trapped, he broke down and started crying. Police showed up and took him into custody. At the scene, he reportedly confessed afterward that he had gone up the building to steal. The thing that makes this footage so gripping is that the arrest almost becomes an afterthought for most of the clip. From the moment he appears on that 10th floor ledge to the moment he drops into the construction area, the only thing anyone watching is focused on is whether he's gonna make it down without falling. The escape attempt was its own crisis entirely, and it ended not with him getting away, but with him sitting trapped at the bottom of a building he just climbed down the outside of, waiting for police to arrive. Jesse Carr makes travel content, lighthearted solo vlogs from destinations around the world, the kind that tend to show the more appealing and accessible side of traveling alone. A visit to Afu Waterfall on the island of Savai in Samoa was supposed to be another installment in that series. The location had the king a setting that produces good footage, clear freshwater pools, dense tropical greenery, a waterfall that feeds directly into a calm swimming area surrounded by rocks and natural vegetation. Jesse paid the entry fee, drove down to the falls, and arrived to find the place almost entirely empty. What unfolded over the next stretch of time didn't match the setting she'd come to document.
So there's little waterfalls over here, like that. And I guess as I keep driving up, the bigger one's gonna be up there. Okay, I don't know if I'm meant to park here. But anywho, this is the spot. And I think it's just me. Wait, let's go check it out quickly.
The conditions looked right for the kind of content she usually produces. The water was clean and clear. The waterfall itself was striking, and she started filming the way she normally would, narrating, describing the location, getting ready to swim. Not long after she arrived, she became aware of a man in the area who appeared to be paying consistent attention to her.
I'm gonna hop in now. I took a couple photos and now I'm ready to have a dip. Are you okay? All good? Jesse. Pardon? I can't remember the name. It's like, I don't remember the name. Sorry. There's a man and he's kind of just like hanging around me. Anyway.
Whether he was being sociable, setting himself up as an informal guide, expecting payment, or something else wasn't immediately clear. Jessie didn't want to make assumptions. She kept her manner polite and tried to give him reasonable benefit of the doubt, even as her comfort level was already dropping. The footage reflects that. She can be seen actively working to convince herself the situation was fine, while her instincts were registering something else entirely.
Okay. Oh my gosh, the water's so nice and crisp. Whoops. It'd be good to have rock shoes or something. I feel like that man was like waiting for me to hop in so he could hop in or something. I don't know why.
As she moved through the pool, he pointed out different sections of the falls, suggested where she should go next, offered to help her across the rocks. Jessie kept the tone light, but said aloud during the visit that she felt uneasy and would rather not have men around her. When a small group of other visitors arrived near the falls, it brought some degree of relief. The man still didn't leave.
I'm just gonna float because it's getting tiring. Would you like me to take a photo of you guys? Yeah? Okay. That's okay. So the ladies, pardon? Over there. I'll try. No, all good. The man is telling me that I should go over here. So I'm gonna try actually because I feel like it would be nice to. Okay, I got to some rock. I don't know, I can't tell if the man is just being really nice or if he's just being too friendly, like, because I was feeling a little bit uncomfortable. But he was like, do you need some help coming over here? And I was like, no, thank you. Because I just want to be like by myself with no men around, preferably. Okay, this. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! You scared me. I'm good, thanks. Pardon? Cold, yeah. I'm 25. Pardon? Sorry? A hole. Oh, it's like a cave. Is it a cave? Yeah? Okay. I'm okay. You go, I'll follow you.
Rather than leaving immediately, she kept managing the situation as calmly as she could without escalating it.
Walk down? Oh. That's okay. That's okay. Pardon? Where? Down? Okay, I'll try. He just jumped. Should I jump? Oh, I'm scared. I don't want to jump on you. Wait, maybe move and then I'll jump.
She worked to keep some control over the dynamic, telling him to go first before she moved, asking him to step back before she jumped from rocks, maintaining a friendly surface tone throughout. It didn't resolve anything. He stayed close, moved through the water alongside her, took photographs of her, and kept positioning himself as her guide around the falls.
Up that way? Well, can I go this way?
From a surface-level view, parts of his behavior could appear like straightforward helpfulness. Jessie later said that was exactly what made the situation so difficult to navigate in real time. She was constantly reassessing. Was he being a friendly local? Was he expecting some form of payment for his time? Or something more than that happening?
I'll follow you. I'm gonna go now. Thank you so much for taking the photos. I'm gonna go. If he follows me, like, I'll just head off, but I do want to give him a little bit of money for taking the photos of me, because that was nice of him to do.
You go back in the field.
Pardon?
I don't know. You go around?
I'm not too sure.
Oh. You come back.
Yeah, one day.
You go back. You go back more.
More? Samoa?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Someone your best friend is my your best friend. I live there, yeah.
You live here? Yeah. Oh,
In
nice.
my house, you see the birds?
Yeah.
In my house.
Oh, beautiful place to live.
You want to best friend? I just wish you want to come back to Samoa. Come and see me in my village.
Oh.
And see my house up there.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I'll give you a little bit of money to say thank you for your photos. Yeah? One sec. It's okay, because it was very nice. Thank you. Married? No. But no, don't want anybody.
Oh, yeah, you need school.
No, pardon?
You need school?
School? No.
Eventually, she decided to leave. She thanked him for taking photos and tried to draw the visit to natural close. He continued talking. She gave him some money as acknowledgement for the photographs, then walked back to her car. It was only once she was there that she explained what had actually been happening during the entire visit.
Much. God bless you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Have a nice day.
You too. You too.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Thank you.
I feel like so confused. He touched my bum. Like he was he was giving me a hand, and then he kept trying to touch my waist and then touch my bum. And he touched it once, and I felt really, really uncomfortable. And then I was like, "You go first. You go first." But then he was so nice as well. But he I don't know. He kept he was following me around, but then he ended up taking photos of me, which was really nice. But yeah, sometimes it's really hard, with men and traveling and people being very friendly.
Throughout the encounter, he had repeatedly tried to touch her waist and at one point made physical contact in a way that left her feeling significantly uncomfortable. She hadn't reacted strongly in the moment, not because she was okay with what was happening, but because she was actively assessing whether speaking up more firmly would make her safer or make the situation worse. That ongoing calculation is what makes the footage uncomfortable to watch. She wasn't simply spending time at a waterfall. She was continuously managing a situation and making real-time decisions about what response gave her the best outcome. Looking back, she said she wished she had acted on her instincts earlier. She had remained polite throughout, had tipped him, and had actively tried not to create tension, while he was the one who had been pushing past her boundaries the entire time. Jessie was explicit about why she posted the footage. It wasn't intended to discourage anyone from visiting Samoa. The waterfall itself was genuinely beautiful, and this type of encounter isn't unique to any particular country. She shared it because it made a point worth making clearly, especially for women traveling solo, that being polite is not something you owe to someone who is making you feel unsafe. What did you make of this encounter, and what would you have done if you were Jessica? Let me know in the comments. This is NYPD body cam footage, and it's not the kind that shows up in a typical shift. Take a look.
Hello? How you doing? Can you just stay where you are? Rob, you good? How you doing? Well, you can't be up here. What? All right. All right.
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah.
Rob, come on up. Give me this.
You guys gonna be cooperative?
You cooperate? Matt, you're on?
On any room.
All right, bring her to the other side.
It's open over there.
Just bring her over there. So he can come down.
Just so you're,
before he goes back up. What language do you guys speak?
Russian.
All right.
I understand, but not so.
Two people climbed the Empire State Building, and the NYPD sent officers up to arrest them. What those two actually did is a whole separate discussion, but consider the officers who got that call. At some point during their shift, someone radioed in and told them their next assignment was climbing the Empire State Building to make an arrest. That's not a sentence most people in law enforcement expect to hear on a regular workday. This footage was captured in Kananaskis, Alberta, during what was supposed to be a 5-minute errand. The woman had just poured her morning coffee, spoon still sitting in the mug, and taken her dog for a short walk along the gravel driveway near camp. The previous day had involved a long hike, so neither of them had much energy, and the plan was straightforward. Walk roughly 100 meters down the driveway, turn around, and come back. When she turned to do exactly that, a grizzly bear was standing close by. It hadn't charged, but something about its manner immediately registered as wrong. It was focused in a way that felt deliberate, and its attention kept returning to her dog rather than moving on. She'd encountered bears in that area before. This one read differently from the start. That distinction was enough to make her pull out her phone and start recording before anything else happened.
No. Go away. Hey. Say. No. Ah. Hey. Ha. Ah. Hey. Stop. Stop! Stop! Enough! No! Hey! Hey! Stop! Stop it! Go away! Go! Enough!
For a stretch of time, she held herself together, keeping the dog controlled, stepping backwards steadily, not giving the bear a reason to accelerate. It came within a few meters regardless. With nothing else available, she took the coffee mug and threw it down the driveway ahead of her.
Hey! Dad! Dad! Hey! Stop! Enough! Get! Go! Go! Stop it!
The sound redirected the bear's attention just long enough for her to move. She ran. Looking back, the bear had started coming after her. She reached camp and got herself and the dog inside one of the tents while other people in the area began shouting and waving their arms to pull the bear's focus away from her. She stayed inside for around 15 minutes while the bear kept its position in the vicinity before eventually drifting off in pursuit of a moose. When a conservation officer arrived and first heard the description over the phone, he reportedly didn't find it credible. A grizzly working its way within a few meters of a person encircling that closely wasn't something he initially accepted as likely. Then he reviewed the footage. The bear was built on a scale that brought its head close to level with hers even while moving on all fours, and she stands 5'2". She said that in all her years spending time in that region, including multiple previous grizzly encounters, she had never seen one conduct itself the way this one did, attributed to her account. The detail that stands out while watching the clip is how ordinary everything looked when it started. She wasn't deep in remote terrain or far from camp. She had stepped outside with a coffee mug and her dog, fully expecting to be back within 5 minutes. In bear country, that window is all it takes for a situation to shift entirely. The way she handled it was sound. She kept her composure, maintained control of the dog, and found a way to create enough of a distraction with the one object she had to buy herself the seconds she needed. Grizzlies at close range are dangerous regardless of intent. An animal that size, investigating out of what might be curiosity, still presents a genuine threat. What she had planned as a 100-meter walk became the most significant bear encounter of her experience in that area. This video takes place in Venezuela. Terrifying disaster, but this angle shows it in a way that hits differently. Take a look. What makes earthquakes so uniquely terrifying is a simple thing. The ground itself stops being reliable. The one surface people count on to stand becomes a threat. Watch how this plays out. People thrown around with no way to brace or respond, and the buildings visible at the back coming down at the same time. The chaos layers on top of itself fast. According to reports, survivors were pulled alive from the rubble after 8 days. The confirmed death toll has exceeded 2,000, according to reports. Samantha McIntyre, 24 years old, had been using social media to document her journey training for her first staff marathon. The content was simple and consistent. She filmed her runs, walked through how training was progressing, shared her daily distances, and captured the challenges that come with building mileage from the ground up, dealing with heat, fighting through fatigue, staying motivated when the distances got hard. One morning in southeastern Idaho, during what was intended to be another routine training run, she became aware that someone nearby was focused on her in a way that didn't feel incidental.
And there's this guy in a red car that's driven by me twice. And every time he drives by me, he has his arm out the window and he's like looking behind when he's driving by. It's making me really nervous. I haven't seen him in like 10 minutes, but I don't know if I'm being paranoid or what. Just documenting this, just in case. I think it's a red Pontiac. Older, probably late 90s, early 2000s.
According to Samantha, the driver of a passing vehicle had his upper body leaning out of the window, looking back at her direction as a car went by, attributed to her account. Then the same vehicle came back around a second time. That repetition was enough. Something felt wrong, and she recognized it clearly. As she kept moving, she saw the car pull over and park farther up the road, positioned right in the direction her route would take her.
Alright, I see the car parked up here. I do not feel good about this. I have to run by this car to get back to my car though. There's literally no other way around. You guys see it up there? I don't know what to do. It's just one of those things where it's like, you don't think it's gonna happen to you until it happens to you. I don't wanna risk anything. I gotta have my parents come pick me up. I can't risk this. Oh, he's pulling out of the spot right now. Dude. Nah. What the f? I don't know what to do.
She didn't dismiss the feeling or convince herself it was nothing. Instead, she walked directly to the nearest house, approached the front, and asked the resident there whether she could stay for a few minutes, explaining that a man in a red car had been passing her repeatedly and had now parked nearby.
At your house all the time, and there's this guy that keeps driving by and parking. Do you mind if I just like stay in your yard? My mom's gonna come pick me up. I'm just like really worried that he's gonna do something. Thank you. It's making me really nervous. Thank you. He keeps driving by and then parking down there, and then he'll drive by again, and like I'm just afraid he's gonna do something.
From there, she contacted her parents and called the police. The context around the incident made it land harder than it might have otherwise. This took place only weeks after Eliza Fletcher, a runner in Memphis, had been abducted and killed while on a morning run. That case was still fresh for Samantha, and it informed how she processed what was happening around her. As someone who runs regularly, she understood how quickly an ordinary morning could shift into something dangerous, attributed to her. Police identified and spoke to the man in the red car and informed him that his conduct was inappropriate. He wasn't arrested. The behavior, while alarming, didn't meet the standard required for charges to be filed. Following the incident, Samantha changed how she trains outdoors. She now carries a personal alarm, mace, and a whistle on runs, and said she would approach solo outdoor running with considerably more caution moving forward.
What was it about the red car that got your attention?
The first time that he drove by me, he had his whole top half of his body out the window looking back at me multiple times, and had kind of slowed down. And when I saw him drive by the second time doing the same thing, I just got this really bad gut feeling.
She still crossed the finish line at her half marathon. For Samantha, that completion carried meaning that went beyond the race itself. She had decided the encounter wasn't going to take running away from her. What makes this worth noting is that nothing physical took place. No attack, no chase, no moment of direct confrontation. Just a young woman on a training run, picking up on the same car appearing and disappearing, reading the situation clearly and choosing to remove herself from it before anything had the chance to escalate further. The World Cup was underway when this footage came out of Mexico, and celebrating a national team's victories is nothing new there. Mexican fans are known for going all out, but sometimes the excitement crosses a line. In one incident, a group surrounded a police patrol car during the celebrations and began rocking it. One of the officers inside responded by discharging his firearm into the air. No one was hurt in that situation, but it shows how quickly things were getting out of hand. The second incident, out of Cabo San Lucas, ended far more seriously. Several people were injured when a driver panicked after his car was surrounded and rocked, and he hit the accelerator. One person died. He had his family in the vehicle with him. For everyone caught up in that moment, and for the families left with the consequences, this was a night that went somewhere no celebration ever should. March 16, 2026, just after 2 a.m., 4 officers with the Lacey Township Police Department were dispatched to a home on Hemlock Drive in the Lanoka Harbor section of Lacey Township after a woman called 911 reporting that she believed she was having a heart attack. The caller was later identified as 55-year-old Suzanne Clark.
Hello?
What is
I think I'm having a heart attack.
I need the address of your emergency. What's the address?
I don't know.
You don't know the address?
I don't know.
Where are you?
I don't know.
Okay, can you find a piece of mail?
I can't.
You can't. You don't know where you are and you can't find a piece of mail? You can't look
I
on your
don't.
phone and see where you are?
No.
Okay, so how do you expect someone to come find you? How are we going to send help to you?
Okay.
Who am I speaking with?
Suzanne Clark.
What's your name? Hello?
When officers arrived, they found Clark inside the residence. Rather than answering the door, she spoke to them through a window as they attempted to assess the medical emergency. Officers repeatedly asked Clark to come to the front door so they could check on her condition and make sure she received medical attention. Instead, she refused, telling them to leave her alone.
Trying to make contact, still front door's locked. I'm not seeing anyone inside right now. Hello, it's right here. Hello.
Can you come to the door? It's Lacey Police. Are you Suzanne? Can you come to the door, please?
Sure, why?
You called 911.
I wasn't feeling well. I apologize.
All right, can you just open the door so we can talk to you? We just want to make sure you're okay, ma'am. You called 911.
I'm here. I'm okay.
You said you were having a heart attack.
I feel better. I'm walking around.
131 headquarters. Yep. 131 headquarters. 131. Made contact with Suzanne through the window. Stated she did call 911 and feels better now. And she does not want to speak to us further.
Concerned for her welfare, officers remained outside the home while continuing to speak with her. Emergency medical personnel also arrived and stood by, hoping Clark would eventually agree to come outside for treatment. Over the next several minutes, officers could hear Clark yelling from inside the residence, continuing to tell them to leave. At times, they observed her moving throughout the home, while at other moments she appeared to be lying on the floor, adding to concerns that she might be suffering from a serious medical emergency.
Suzanne! What's her name? Suzanne? Suzanne! Ma'am, we just need to talk to you. You called and said you were having a heart attack. Can you come to the front door and talk to us, please?
No, I'm right here.
Okay, can you come to the window and talk to us? Something.
She just yelled no.
Yeah, something's not.
Something's not right.
Okay, I mean.
She's on the ground right here.
Now she's on the ground?
She's on the ground, like hiding. Look,
So what is something's?
I could see her.
She just said she went back to the back bathroom.
Look down there. You can see her.
We're not spying, ma'am. Ma'am, you called and said you're having a heart attack. Ma'am, take a break.
Wait, who is she calling?
We're not harassing you, okay? Something's not right.
Okay. Ma'am, we need you to sign paperwork. You called 911.
Hey! Yes.
I want everybody to know that this.
Suzanne,
Man, you called 911. We're trying to speak with you.
You're not in trouble. We just come on.
Suzanne, we just want to make sure you're okay.
Nice. We have no history with her?
Nothing. Nothing came up when I put her name in. Yeah.
After approximately 30 minutes on scene, the situation took an unexpected turn. Officer Dallas Gant looked through a rear sliding glass door and reported seeing one of Clark's dogs with what appeared to be a knife wound. Fearing that both Clark and the animals inside the home could be in immediate danger, officers decided they needed to enter the residence.
Yeah, she stabbed the my knife. Dog. She stabbed the dog. There's a knife in the dog.
Is that why there was the yelping?
There's a knife in the dog. Yeah. She stabbed the dog.
Huh?
She stabbed the dog.
She stabbed the dog?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, work back.
Two. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Jesus. All right.
They first attempted to force open the front door, but their efforts were unsuccessful. Officer Gant then moved to a side window and began climbing inside. Almost immediately after entering, he withdrew when he saw Clark approaching while holding a knife.
Get this lip.
I can see the dog right here. Susan, come here.
Who do you throw? Come out with a knife.
Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Drop the knife.
Moments later, Clark exited the home through the rear sliding glass door with the knife still in her hand. According to investigators, she advanced towards several officers gathered outside. Officers immediately issued repeated commands for her to drop the knife, but authorities say she continued moving toward them while still armed. Believing there was an immediate threat, Officer Gant fired his department-issued firearm multiple times, striking Clark.
Knife.
Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Drop the knife, Susan.
Drop the knife.
Get your tape.
Headquarters, shots fired.
Are you fucking kidding me?
All right. Secure your weapon. Grab a first aid kit. Susan, just stay still, okay? Watch out. Yeah, cops are good. Get up here with your kit. Okay. Did you roll over? Just roll towards me, okay?
Once she was down and the knife was no longer a threat, officers moved in to secure the scene and immediately began rendering emergency medical aid. Despite those efforts, Clark was pronounced dead at the scene at approximately 3:24 a.m. Investigators later recovered the knife from the scene as evidence. Initial reports raised concerns about the condition of the dogs inside the home after one was reportedly observed with an apparent knife wound. However, Clark's obituary later confirmed that both of her dogs, AJ and Sammy, survived the incident. What began as a medical assistance call for someone believed to be experiencing a heart attack evolved into a rapidly changing and dangerous situation in the span of little more than an hour. Officers responding to provide emergency aid instead found themselves confronting an armed individual, bringing the incident to a tragic conclusion. What you see right now is a high-performance speedboat, the kind of vessel that looks like a supercar built for water. This type of boat is a common sight at tourist spots around the world. Watch closely. The person operating it was 22 years old. He died after the boat collided with another vessel. That second vessel turned out to be operated by police. The incident took place in Samil, a small village located in the south of Albania. On July 5, 2026, in Quang Tri, Vietnam, a tractor trailer entered a curve without slowing enough, causing its container to tip into the opposite lane and collide with another truck. Authorities said the crash caused only property damage, with no injuries reported. Tucked into the Lorisyang district of Arunachal Pradesh, India, sits a small town called Lavali. the district's administrative headquarters. The region is defined by its mountainous character, steep terrain, and deep valleys cutting through the landscape. Rain changes every
barang-barang lagi ya.
In Banyasan, Indonesia, a 25-year-old boat repair worker jumped into a river to help friends repair a damaged vessel but disappeared only moments later. According to authorities, he is believed to have been attacked by a crocodile. If confirmed, the incident is especially remarkable because several other people were in the water nearby when he vanished, yet none of them were harmed. Kyrgyzstan showing up on this channel is rare, but when something like this comes through, it's worth covering. Like this terrifying clip, for example. Watch.
오, 귀여워. 사이라겠어, 얘가. 이제 숨겠대? 이제 숨겨. 더 더. 죽겠지, 인스타 많이 당하긴 건데. 내가 거기 더 컸지.
A boomerang roller coaster at the Batik Entertainment Center experienced a mechanical malfunction while operating. An object came loose from the ride during the cycle. That object reportedly struck some of the riders on board, attributed to reports not confirmed beyond that. The park has made no statement. Whether anyone sustained injuries remains unconfirmed. In San Pedro, Paraguay, a group of heavily armed attackers attempted to rob an armored truck transporting more than $1 million in cargo. According to authorities, the driver managed to ram through one of the suspects' vehicles and escaped to a nearby police station. Both the driver and the security guard riding with him made it out of the attempted robbery without injuries. CCTV footage from Dayton, Ohio. I actually have a friend there. Anyways, the clip doesn't need much of a runway before it makes its own point. A 42-year-old driver came through a section of road with warning signs clearly in place and drove past them anyway, sending the vehicle into a ditch. The fire department responded and extracted her from the scene. According to reports, she arrived at hospital with serious injuries but was in stable condition following treatment. A nearby worker also came within a close margin of being struck as the vehicle left the road. This footage was posted by user Lai El Nana, who states it isn't staged and what they captured left them genuinely frightened. The school has a local reputation for being haunted by a former student, specifically centered on one classroom, attributed to local rumor. Over the years, staff and students have reported seeing a small figure dressed in a school uniform in that room, with a face described as bearing no resemblance to any living person. What makes it particularly eerie is the consistency. According to reports, every sighting has occurred on a Wednesday at exactly 3 p.m. in the same classroom, the reported time and location of a student's death years earlier. 2 students who knew the stories went to that room at precisely that time. At the far end of the classroom, a figure in a school uniform was visible, seated completely still. When the students moved inside to get closer, it was gone. The uploader maintains the footage is real. There's one specific detail in the clip worth examining closely. Before the students enter, the curtain at the window appears partially open, with light coming through. Once they're inside, it's fully drawn. No visible cuts show up even after watching it multiple times. Whether that's a continuity error from a staged setup or something else, it's a detail that sits uneasily. The closing question isn't about the figure, it's about that curtain. If nothing and no one was in that room, what drew it closed? In Wanad, India, a large stockpile of earth from a tunnel excavation gave way after heavy rain, crashing onto a nearby roadway. The collapse carried away a fuel tanker and trapped several workers beneath the debris. According to authorities, at least 3 people lost their lives, while 5 others are still missing. Officials said the tragedy was preventable, alleging the contractor repeatedly failed to comply with orders to remove the growing pile of excavated soil. Our thoughts are with the victims, their families, and everyone affected by this devastating incident. I promise you guys, there is no amount of social media clout that is worth doing something this dumb. rotor blades can become nearly invisible when spinning at full speed, and the powerful downwash they create can hurl debris with enough force to cause life-threatening injuries. Whether this happened because of poor judgment, a lack of awareness, or both, the outcome could have been catastrophic. It only takes one mistake around an operating helicopter for an ordinary moment to become a fatal one. In Taoyuan, Taiwan, a family came within moments of being caught in a deadly landslide after a hillside suddenly collapsed onto the road in front of their car. The driver's son urgently yelled for his father to stop, and that split-second warning likely saved their lives. Authorities said the slope had been weakened by several days of heavy rainfall, eventually giving way without warning. In March 2025, Hannah Guk was running a late-night live stream on TikTok, casual, relaxed, talking with her audience, the way she normally would. Nothing about the session suggested it was going to be anything other than a routine night online, but something was happening in the background that she had no awareness of whatsoever.
Pero desde que me corté el cabello siento que me parezco muchísimo menos a Dua Lipa. Y es que muchísima gente me dice que me parezco a la Dua Lipa del 2018 más o menos, que tiene como el cabello cortito. Y me puse a ver fotos y nada que ver. O sea, ella se ve increíble, tenía el cabello súper bonito y yo parezco... No sé, o sea, ¿qué opinan ustedes?
A face appeared in the window behind her. It stayed there, motionless, directed toward her, for several seconds before disappearing. Hannah didn't catch it while it was happening. The first indication something was wrong came from her chat, which filled rapidly with alarmed messages from viewers who had seen it in real time. Hannah's content has no history of paranormal themes or interest in the subject. And that's a detail many of her followers keep coming back to, according to viewer responses. The question the footage leaves open is specific. Whatever appeared in that window wasn't moving, wasn't passing by, it was watching. What stays there motionless for several seconds and then disappears? In Mukono, Uganda, a school bus carrying more than 70 students on a field trip drove onto a railway crossing after the driver allegedly ignored a police officer's signal to stop, resulting in a collision with an oncoming train. According to reports, a teacher lost her life and dozens of students were injured. The driver fled the scene and remains wanted by police. Our thoughts are with the victims and their families. And this tragedy serves as a sobering reminder of the devastating consequences that can result from reckless and irresponsible decisions behind the wheel. This footage originated on an Indonesian social media platform. It started as a casual cooking video, nothing unusual, nothing staged. When the woman filming turned the camera around to capture herself, what she found on screen was not what she was expecting.
Dikit dan bakso. So yummy. So, kita langsung aja ambil mangkok.
At the top of the staircase, a dark figure with long black hair was visible, partially concealed behind the wall. It pulled back out of frame, then reappeared. This time it wasn't staying put. It began moving toward her. The reaction on her face was immediate and visible. The original source of this clip has proven difficult to trace beyond its initial appearance on an Indonesian platform, and no further context has been confirmed. What the footage leaves open is anchored to that second appearance specifically. The figure retreated, then came back, and came forward. Something that initially hides and then advances isn't behaving like a reflection or a trick of the light. The question is, what does? The wildfire, believed to have been started by human activity, became one of the worst ever recorded in Utah, burning across nearly 100,000 acres. The flames tore through a ski resort, destroying its main lodge, more than 100 condominiums, roughly 30 cabins, and over 150 structures altogether. Despite the enormous damage, authorities confirmed that everyone at the resort was evacuated safely. Late at night, a family started hearing noises coming from the lower floor of their home. The first assumption was that it was a house, settling, shifting, nothing worth losing sleep over. But the sound kept coming, and over the following weeks, they changed character. They became sharper, more deliberate, less easy to write off. Every time the father went downstairs to investigate, the noise was gone before he got there, as if whatever was producing it knew he was coming. After enough nights of this, he narrowed the origin point down, something beneath the staircase. He positioned a security camera directly at that spot and left it running. The same night he set it up, the camera recorded something. A face emerged from the darkness under the stairs, slowly, deliberately coming forward out of the shadow. When the family reviewed the footage, the reaction was immediate. Every strange sound from the previous weeks snapped into different contexts. What had felt unsettling before now felt like something with a source. They decided the only reasonable response was to leave the house entirely, and did. The question that footage leaves open isn't about what they heard. It's about that face specifically. It didn't appear suddenly. It came forward gradually, as though it had been there for some time before deciding to move into frame. The source of this footage is unknown, but the context surrounding it is deeply unsettling. Someone in the house had been repeatedly woken from sleep by sounds coming from the floor below. These weren't faint or ambiguous. They were loud, unnatural, and described as a kind of sinister wailing that cut through even deep sleep every time. The family responded by placing cameras in multiple rooms throughout the house, with one positioned specifically in the kitchen dining area, where the sounds were consistently loudest. Several nights of recordings came back clean, nothing visible on any footage, but the wailing kept coming. Then, just after 3 a.m. on one particular night, the kitchen camera picked up something. Something rose slowly into frame, glowing eyes visible as it lifted above the line of the counter, then dropped back down just as fast. The clip runs only a few seconds. Viewers watching it have landed in two camps. Some say it looks like a person crouching low and peering over the counter surface, attributed to viewers. Others say it doesn't read as human at all. The question the footage leaves open isn't really about whether it's a prank or an intruder. It's about those eyes specifically. Eyes reflect or glow for reasons that are usually explainable. What's less easy to explain is why they're at that height, moving the way they are at that hour. Janet recently moved into a new apartment and has been capturing the whole process on camera, unpacking, decorating, slowly turning the space into something that feels like home. The footage was supposed to document a fresh start. Instead, it's become something considerably harder to explain.
Hi. Where are you? Can I help you?
Remember? Your friends?
No, I don't remember. Please get out. Please get out of my apartment. Please get out of my apartment.
During a workout session she was filming in her living room, the situation changed fast. A complete stranger walked into the apartment. The front door had been left unlocked. As she ran towards safety, the camera picked up something she didn't register in the moment. A door swung open on its own just ahead of her. She only noticed it when she went back through the footage later. According to Janet, that door is layered with thick tape the landlord left behind, which makes it resistant to opening under normal circumstances. Wind wasn't a workable explanation for the movement. By her own reasoning, a few weeks on, before things had settled back to normal, it happened again. loud noise hit the apartment and sent both Janet and her cat into immediate alarm. She moved toward the front door, then turned back to find the cat, and a second sound pushed her into the bedroom where she locked herself in. That's when the impressions appeared on the bed, indentations forming as though something was there, though nothing was visible. The night did turn out to involve a real intruder. Janet later confirmed someone had broken in and stolen her laptop, attributed to her account, but viewers watching the footage kept returning to the two details that the intruder explanation doesn't fully address: the door opening on its own during the first incident and whatever was pressing into that bed. Some viewers believe a presence has been watching over Janet, specifically during the moments when real danger was close. Others think the apartment itself is the problem and she should get out. The question both incidents leave open is this: if there's a rational explanation for a heavily taped door swinging open on its own and for impressions forming on a bed with no visible cause, what is it? And why does it keep happening when Janet is in danger? On the early morning of October 5, 2024, Bridgeport police officers responded to a home on Terry Place after receiving reports of a person experiencing a mental health crisis. At approximately 1 a.m., officers Marie Setti, Jesse Jimenez, Maria Kanhasi, and Jamaine Mercer arrived at the residence to check on the situation. Rather than rushing inside, the officers remained on the front porch and attempted to speak calmly with a man inside the home, who was later identified as 45-year-old Huntley Jackson. Jackson stood in the open doorway as officers tried to communicate with him, hoping to peacefully resolve the encounter. For a brief period, the situation remained relatively calm as officers continued talking to him from a safe distance.
Now he's gonna lock the door. Which is probably why we shouldn't close it, right?
Yeah, I didn't think about that. He was spitting all over us.
I know.
You don't know calm, you don't know reason, you know hospital.
Which hospital do you go to?
Let's see if Dad can open it.
Sir! Can you unlock the door? See? This is why we don't do this.
What's your name?
What's your name? What the f***? This is why we don't do this shit, man.
But without warning, everything changed. According to investigators, Jackson suddenly produced a knife while standing in the doorway. Before officers had time to react, he rushed out onto the porch and launched an attack. Officer Marie Setti was struck multiple times during the assault, suffering cuts to her shoulder, head, and neck. Faced with an immediate threat to his fellow officer, Officer Jesse Jimenez fired his department-issued firearm twice, striking Jackson in the torso and stopping the attack.
Get out of the room. Get out of the room.
Well, they got keys now. So they're... I'm gonna kill one.
Let's see if Dad can open it.
Sir!
Can you unlock the door?
See? This is why we don't do this.
Sorry.
What's your name?
I'll just go through the back.
What's your name?
Oh.
There's no getaway.
What the f***? This is why we don't
I'll
do
go
this
through the
shit,
back.
man.
I'm gonna kill one.
Don't hit him. Top five. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. Drop the knife. 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 Drop the knife.
Don't hit it, please.
Drop the knife.
Relax, don't hit him. Don't hit him. Finish your round.
Drop the knife. Drop the knife.
Yo, MYUU.
Once the threat had ended, officers immediately shifted their focus to providing medical aid. Both Officers Setti and Jackson were treated at the scene before being transported to St. Vincent's Medical Center for emergency treatment. Officer Setti's injuries, while serious, were not life-threatening. She was treated at the hospital and later released. Jackson underwent surgery for the gunshot wounds he sustained during the encounter. Hospital officials reported that he survived the incident and was listed in guarded but stable condition. Following the investigation, Jackson was charged with criminal attempt to commit murder, first-degree assault, and assault on a public safety officer. During his arraignment, a judge set his bond at $750,000. What began as a welfare check involving a person in crisis escalated in only a matter of seconds into a violent attack on responding officers. The incident serves as another reminder of how rapidly calls involving mental health emergencies can become dangerous, even when officers initially attempt to resolve the situation through conversation rather than force. A Reddit user going by the name Nona Cares Bounce Loner was mid-fare as an Uber driver when his dashcam recorded something on an empty road at night. As he moved through the darkness, a small figure appeared ahead of him in the lane. He slowed down and activated his high beams to get a better look. What came into view, according to his account, was a small child standing alone in the middle of the road, dressed in what appeared to be only a diaper, and holding something that resembled a stick or a plastic pipe. The surrounding area offered no context. No adults visible, no residents nearby, no obvious explanation for why a child would be standing there alone in complete darkness in the middle of a road. Just the figure, the empty lane, and the high beams. Once the footage was posted to Reddit, skepticism came quickly. Some viewers read it as staged content, others thought it was a prank. A third interpretation, arguably the most uncomfortable one, was that the figure had been placed there deliberately to get drivers to stop and exit their vehicles alone at night. The driver rejected all of those readings attributed to him. He said he was prepared to produce the original unedited dashcam file, interior camera footage showing his reaction as it was happening in real time, and Uber records that would confirm he was on a legitimate trip at the moment the encounter occurred. Additional detail from his account added weight to the story. Only a few minutes after passing the figure, he was pulled over by police for a faulty headlight. During that stop, according to his account, he immediately told the officer what he had just seen and directed them to the precise location on the road. He also addressed the footage quality directly, stating that the dashcam's wide-angle lens made the image look significantly less clear than his own visual experience of the scene, and that in person the figure looked unmistakably like a child, attributed to him throughout. No confirmed explanation has emerged for what the dashcam captured. The range of possibilities includes a genuinely lost child, a staged prank, or a deliberate setup to make lone drivers stop in an isolated location at night. The footage doesn't settle which of those it was. The driver's account and his offer to provide corroborating records didn't produce a definitive answer either. What the clip leaves open is the same question it raised the moment the high beams hit that figure. Whatever was standing alone in that road at night, what was it doing there and where did it go? Surveillance footage from Oklahoma City captured a Molotov cocktail attack on a man in a wheelchair, carried out in broad daylight and in close proximity to the city's police headquarters. The video documents the sequence in detail. The victim crosses an intersection in his wheelchair while the suspect moves in a different direction on the opposite side of the street. When the suspect reaches the far curb, he stops, turns around, and comes back toward the wheelchair user. He lights the Molotov cocktail and throws it. Flames broke out on the road at the point of impact. Police officers who were passing the area, along with other witnesses, moved in to help immediately. The suspect was detained on the scene, and a bystander stepped in to assess the victim directly. According to officials, the victim sustained only minor injuries. Officials credited both the community and the first responders for their quick response in preventing the situation from escalating further. Inside a gym in Santa Catarina, Brazil, what started as a typical day of people lifting weights and following their routines suddenly spiraled into chaos. It began with something almost absurdly small, an argument over a workout machine. One member, a man known both for past legal trouble and a habit of stirring confrontation, became irritated when another gym-goer used equipment he wanted. Voices rose. A physical fight broke out. Before it escalated further, a personal trainer rushed in, using his strength and training instincts to restrain the aggressive member until he calmed down. But the situation didn't end there. Moments after being released, the man stormed out of the building. Those who saw him leave hoped the incident was over. Instead, he returned with a pistol. Without hesitation, he opened fire and shot the trainer in the leg. Panic swept through the gym as people dove for cover, screaming and scattering between machines. What the gunman didn't expect was that an off-duty corrections officer had been working out nearby. The officer reacted with instinctive precision, drawing his service weapon and firing in defense, incapacitating the attacker before he could shoot again. The officer immediately called for medical assistance, securing the weapon and ensuring no further threat remained. The wounded trainer was rushed to the hospital, treated, and thankfully released without long-term injury. The shooter survived as well, but was taken into custody and later charged in an attempted homicide case. Security footage captured every second of the incident and is now a crucial part of the official investigation. In Lahore, Pakistan, what should have been an ordinary day suddenly became a street-level nightmare when an 11-month-old pet lion escaped from a private residence. The moment the massive young predator leapt over the property wall, panic rippled across the neighborhood. Security camera footage shows the lion landing on the pavement and immediately lunging toward a woman who had been walking nearby. It knocked her to the ground with terrifying ease, digging its claws into her as she screamed for help. A nearby man sprinted over, waving his arms and shouting in an attempt to scare the lion off. The animal hesitated for only a moment before turning its attention toward her two young ones, around 5 and 7 years old, who were standing just feet away. The lion swiped at them, injuring their arms and faces as they tried desperately to break free. The scene was pure chaos, the kind of unfolding terror most people only witness in wildlife documentaries. Emergency responders transported all 3 victims to the hospital, where thankfully it was confirmed that none were in critical condition. Meanwhile, the lion's owners attempted to escape with the animal by loading it into a van, but authorities intercepted them within 12 hours. Officials determined the lion had been kept illegally, setting off a much larger crackdown. In the days that followed, 18 lions across Punjab province were seized from illegal owners, and 8 people were detained for harboring exotic wildlife without permits. May 18, 1980. On paper, it was a calm Sunday morning in southwestern Washington state. Blue sky, clear air, Mount St. Helens standing on the horizon like it always had. Except anyone paying attention knew it wasn't the same mountain anymore. For weeks, the volcano had been waking up. Small earthquakes, venting steam, a bulge growing on its northern flank, pushing outward several feet every day like the side of the mountain was slowly being inflated from within. 48-year-old photographer Robert Landsberg had been watching all of it. Living in Portland, Oregon, he'd made trip after trip to the area, documenting each change. He wasn't a thrill seeker, he was meticulous, setting up shots, logging notes, trying to turn his unfolding event into a visual record. On the night of May 17th, he wrote in his journal that he felt right on the verge of something. The next morning, he drove his 1969 Dodge station wagon to a ridge about 4 miles from the summit. From there, the volcano filled his frame perfectly. He set up his tripod, mounted his camera, started shooting. At 8:32 a.m., that something arrived. A magnitude 5.1 earthquake struck beneath the mountain. Through his viewfinder, Landsberg saw the unimaginable. The entire north side of Mount St. Helens peeled away and collapsed in a massive landslide. That collapse uncorked pressure inside. Instead of a classic vertical eruption, a sideway blast tore out of the mountain. The explosion released an estimated 24 megatons of thermal energy, the equivalent of more than 1,600 Hiroshima-sized bombs. A lateral blast of superheated gas, ash, and rock ripped across the landscape at over 300 miles per hour. Forests didn't just burn, they were flattened. Trees snapped like matchsticks and were thrown to the ground, all pointing away from the blast like blades of grass in a gale. Most people in the blast zone never had a chance to react. Landsberg did something different. He kept photographing. Frame after frame, he captured the eruption's early seconds, the ash cloud ballooning upward, the shock wave chewing through the forest, the sky turning from blue to gray in a matter of heartbeats. But he knew exactly what was coming toward him. He knew how fast that pyroclastic flow was moving, and he knew there was no outrunning it from where he stood. So he made a decision. Instead of trying to escape, he focused on saving what he'd already recorded. He rewound the film in his camera. He placed the camera in his backpack, then he laid down on top of it, using his own body as a shield against the incoming blast. Moments later, the pyroclastic flow hit. Temperatures inside the flow had been estimated at over 800 degrees Fahrenheit. The air wasn't just hot, it was lethal. Superheated ash and gas tore across his position, killing him instantly and burying him under layers of volcanic debris. He became one of 57 people who lost their lives that day. For 17 days, his body lay where he fell. On June 4th, rescue and recovery teams found him. When they moved his remains, they discovered the backpack underneath, damaged, scorched, but still intact enough to protect the film inside. Incredibly, the film could still be developed. Those images were later published, including in National Geographic. They became some of the most important visual records of the eruption's early moments. Scientists used them to better understand how the blast unfolded, how fast it moved, and how it transformed the mountain in seconds. Other observers died that day as well. Photographer Reed Blackburn, working closer to the summit, was overtaken by the blast. His camera and film were destroyed by heat. USGS volcanologist David A. Johnston, stationed 6 miles away, radioed his final words: "Vancouver, Vancouver, this is it." Seconds later, his position was swallowed too. What set Landsberg apart wasn't that he was there, it was what he chose to do when he realized he wasn't getting out. He turned his final moments into a shield for his work, so the rest of the world could see what a volcano like this truly looks like in the instant it explodes. Mount St. Helens lost about 1,300 feet of its summit that day. A horseshoe-shaped crater replaced the once symmetrical peak. The surrounding landscape was rearranged. Forests flattened, river channels changed, ash spread over multiple states. And somewhere beneath all that destruction, one man lay on top of a backpack, having decided that if he couldn't survive the story, he could at least make sure the story survived. Thanks for watching. Stay vigilant, friends.